What's going on, guys? It's Average Player here, and I said 20 likes on the last video for the deck profile, and then you guys crushed it in like 24 hours, so I guess we're going to do a combo tutorial now for Sprights, as I'm trying to keep a man of my word. I'm trying to upload more videos, so here's the combo tutorial. There was the deck profile, and then we're going to, here in a little bit, after I'm done doing this, we're going to edit the clips from Karma's deck profile for his Fluwanderee's deck, where he did 5-3 and 1 at the YCS, so we will see about that. We're going to shuffle cut, and then we're going to draw 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's a good example where starter going to 2 does absolutely nothing because you see it anyway. But all of these combos are going to be based off of my opponent doesn't have any hand traps, so it doesn't really matter. We're not going to activate starter. We're going to normal summon Beaver first, activate his effect, special summon out Angler. See, now you can do this in multiple different ways here. If you want to dodge the giant space rock, you can go ahead and make gigantic Spright anyway, and it doesn't really matter what route you do. It's just going to lead you to the same thing except the first route, which makes gigantic Spright will make you dodge the giant space rock called Nibiru. So we're just going to make that path first. So you know the gigantic Spright's effect, detach, summon out blue. The effect of blue will now search you a jet. And if you look at the cards in your hand here, this is what helps you decide what you need to search off a jet. If you don't have starter, you're going to search starter, but we have the pixie as well. So we don't need to search the starter. We would search the double cross no matter what. But if we didn't have the pixie, we would search starter to summon out blue, add pixie to our hand, so we have that the honest effect on our opponent's turn. So now we're going to special summon Jet, use his effect to go ahead and search out the double cross. Here's it's a non-toad board, so we're not going to make toad. We're just going to put up, if you can't tell, enough interruptions to be able to interrupt our opponent, because here on our opponent's turn we can activate starter, and based off of what they're playing we can either summon red or carrot and not really have to worry about it. But here's the link too with those two for the Sprind, effective Sprind, the Foolish any level 2, and if you guessed right, we're going to Foolish Nimble Angler because that card is absolutely disgusting. And I'm going to use the effect of Angler to summon out both blue beavers, not blues. Wow. If anybody says anything like how is this going to be enough? It is more than enough actually, especially for most decks. So we're going to XC summon for Mannequin Cat, and there's a reason for Mannequin Cat, and then we're going to set those 4, keep the pixie in hand, and pass. So the Mannequin Cat Sprint combo here, it's really good because these both will trigger at the same time, and they're both if effects, so they can be so they can both be chained in whatever fashion. So when your opponent would special summon a monster, I generally do chain 2 or chain 1, chain 2. So this will detach off of this for cost, and this will just target the monster and special summon one with the same type. So it doesn't really matter, like, if they're summoning a monster, and say they're playing Cash, you have to be wary, because if they have that Cash monster on board already, you got to be careful, because once they special summon that Cash monster, you'd have to chain the starter here to get a carrot out so they don't Theosis. Because once they have the Cash monster on field, they can't special summon anything else. They can only normal summon if they have something, because their Cash monsters can't be special summoned if they control monsters. Even then, if you don't have, even if you don't get out starter, if they do activate Theosis, you can double cross. Because the ruling on it is if you double cross and take their Cash card, their Theosis won't resolve because that monster is no longer on the field and Theosis checks upon resolution. So this is a pretty decent board. On your opponent's turn, Sprint will detach off a Mannequin Cat to bounce a card, yada yada yada. And branded, it's really good because once you go normal summon Aliber, fusion summon, okay, sick. They get the card out on summon, or on summon of Albert, activate starter, descend. Once they activate the effect of fusion summon, you can just summon out red. Send Gigantic to the graveyard because right now we don't need it anymore. Destroy it, negate and destroy. And if anything else goes from there, they try to get out like Mirror Jade or whatever. You double cross Mirror Jade, whatever it might be, so it can no longer be on the field. Mannequin Cat can also get you whatever attribute they decide to have on board from your deck to your side of the field. So that's like part of the combo. That's what that was the main board that I ended on at the YCS, and it actually was enough because of hand traps and also Solemn Judgment, you know, a whole bunch of other things that this deck plays, and it actually was more than enough. It was great. But we're gonna draw another random 5 and try to see if we can set up that Toad combo. Toad's not dead. It takes up a spot in this deck because it has many niche uses with discarding the Nimble Angler, with chain blocking that Nimble Angler, because they both trigger when they're the Swap Frog triggers when it hits the field, the Angler triggers when it hits the graveyard when discarded or sent from deck to graveyard. So it's good to chain block with the Angler too. And you can also set up Toad depending on how cracked your hand is. You can set up Toad hard draw, like hard make Toad. And depending on what Spright cards you got, you can also just keep special summoning, and you have that giant Space Rock negate. Without having to go into Gigantic, you can just go into Sprint and keep going. So let's hope we have a different hand going into this one. Maybe we can Ibly lock somebody. We will see. Because since we opened a little weird hand where we only had Nimble Beaver as a normal summon and starter to start our plays, we could have done it there like that, but we had enough to use starter as an interruption on my opponent's turn instead of using it to do more combo. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, this is actually pretty decent. This is great. The only problem is we have to normal summon one of these two cards, which is actually fine if we summon out the Jet as a normal summon, because we'd rather special summon the blue to get something else, because this Judgment and Ash is way more than enough. And the triple tech is great, but here we will normal summon the Jet, special summon blue effect, because we will be actually special summoning Jet anyway. And I guess here's where 3 Jet can come into play if you draw one and you don't really have anything else. And then you can use Jet's effect. And like I said last time, if you don't have the starter, you can do the starter, or you can do double cross. Here, the way I'm thinking about it is, you have the Jet, you have the blue, you got Judgment, you got Ash. The possibility is also there to set up Toad instead of Ibly locking. But with this board, we're going to be able to Ibly lock and get it done actually quite easily. So, and with Ibly lock, let's see. We're still going to double cross with Ibly lock, as they do end up playing the Lingaribo, or they do end up, you know, crashing it. Main phase 2, we have enough to be able to stop their plays. I'm going to XC for Gigantic. The effect of Gigantic. Again, like I said at the beginning, we're playing this as if my opponent doesn't have anything for hand traps. Because your combo will change based off of hand traps. So, and special summon the Ibly. Now we can't summon anything else besides Link monsters. At least special summon anyway. At this point, our hand really is obsolete, other than like the setting of these 2 cards, and if our opponent did hand trap us for triple attack. And so like that's mainly it. But we're gonna link these 2 away now for Sprint, and this is actually the way you want to do this. Is you want to chain 2 to Ibly, chain 1 Sprint, so your opponent can only respond with an Imperm or Veiler instead of like an Ash. So Ibly, you're gonna give that to your opponent. And then Sprint, we're going to dump the same monsters we dumped last time. We're going to dump Angler to summon out both Beavers. And ideally end on the same board. See, we didn't see Swap Frog at all. We didn't, you know, do all that. It's a 33% chance of seeing Swap Frog or something like that. And then we're going to end on Mannequin Cat, except this board's a little bit better because of that Judgment. And then we're going to set those two, keep those two in hand, and pass. This board's way better because the Ibli's on board, so they can't special summon anything besides links. And most decks that don't really play links are going to be locked with that, so they have to crash it. And then whatever they start doing at that point, and they start special summoning, they'll be in main phase 2. I don't have to worry about getting OTK'd. Talents becomes live on the next turn. Ash becomes live. Our top deck is starter. And that was actually a nasty top deck. But let's do a hand where we have Swap Frog Angler. Let's do a hand when we start off with Swap Frog Angler, and then a random 3 other cards. So we're going to keep shuffling here. We're going to cut it, put these cards back in. And we're going to draw 4, 5. And believe it or not, this hand's actually like full combo. Even though you probably will play into the Space Rock, but you can also play around it. So we're going to activate Swap Frog's effect. Pitch to Angler. Special Swap Frog. Chain 2, Chain 1. So we're going to dump Swap Frog and use Angler's effect to summon out both beavers. But here, we probably don't want to Ibli lock them. It really depends what your preference is. We could Ibli lock them, but we are actually just going to go for the Toad play and sit like that, because I got so many comments yesterday saying like, oh, why is Toad there? Toad's dead. Oh, so stuff. Toad's not dead, especially since you can return Swap, or not Toad, Swap Frog's dead. So we're going to XC summon for Gigantic, and this would be summon number 4. Detach for your summon number 5, so you can't get Space Rock. Affect the blue. Add Jet. Special Jet effect. And I would say, actually, most importantly, if you can't Ibli lock, and if you don't want to Ibli lock, double cross. Because we're not going to end on Sprint this time. We're going to link for Bujinki Ahashima, Bujinki's effect. And especially the Swap Frog from Graveyard. The Swap Frog from hand. And actually, you want to summon it here. For Totally Awesome. You want to summon Toad here. If you have to detach for Toad's effect on your standby phase and your opponent has cards set, you can pop a spell or trap, and then bang, look at this. Spright Smashers gets rid of Bujinki, banishes a Spright from graveyard, that's a banish. You got an Absorb with Double Cross, you got a Negate with Imperm, and you have a Summon Negate with Judgment. Swap Frog's not dead in this deck at all. Swap Frog is very key. If we didn't have Angler in that point, say we had like another Swap Frog or whatever, we don't have to use Swap Frog's effect, and we can just go and play into something else. Like, say if we didn't draw Angler, or say we drew like blue or something like that, we would actually been able to dump it and go in and make Sprint and Bujinki. And if it came down to it, if your opponent didn't get rid of either of them, because Sprint can detach whatever, then if we would have done a play like that, and we had the resources to do that, because we drew a whole bunch of like board breakers and interruptions, that if our opponent was able to play through that, they wouldn't have much left, and we would just XC summon with both Link monsters. So anyway, that's it for the combos. Actually, you know, let's do one more. Let's add Swap Frog back to the hand again and just draw 4 random cards. Because I just want to show that Swap Frog is perfectly fine. And the reason why it's not dead because of Rodin. Rodin allowed you in this deck to set up 2 totally awesomes instead of 1, and it made it easier just to set up 1 in general. But you can still set it up. Cards like Bujinki Hashima are very strong because of the fact that you get to just summon out Toad basically for free. And in some instances, you can still make Bujinki Hashima, not even make Toad because you're hard making it anyway. So there's that, and then we're gonna cut 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is way better. We didn't draw any of our interruptions other than Carrot. Carrot's good, but still gonna activate Swap Frog's effect. Pitch Angler, chain 2, chain 1 like normal. I'm just going to start adding the stuff out that I see first. Dump Swap Frog. And then special summon out the Beavers. Like, this hand's cracked. Like, this hand's honestly ridiculous. Because we're going to be able to Ibly lock with Toad. We're going to use Swap Frog's effect to turn him in the hand. XE summon for Gigantic Spright. Affect the Gigantic Spright. Detach. Let's find the Sibley. Let's find the Sibley. There we go. There's Sibley. And here we want to get rid of the Gigantic Spright. Link 2 for Sprind. Chain 2, chain 1. We're going to give our opponent the Ibly. Sprind, we're just going to dump a random card. Doesn't really matter what it is. Which is going to be this last Swap Frog, just to get a card engraved. Another card engraved. We didn't have to use Swap Frog's effect at the beginning, but it doesn't really matter. But everybody's locked into 2s now, so normal summon Beaver. Effect's going to special summon back the Angler. XC summon in the Mannequin Cat. Special summon Jet effect. To add starter. Activate starter. Special summon blue effect. Adding red. Obviously we'll pay 1100 life points for that. Link 2 into Bujinki, affect the Bujinki. Here, we don't really have to worry about the Speller Trap pop because of where it's located. Summon out both Swap Frog from graveyard and hand. Make totally awesome. Special summon Carrot, special summon Red, and you got a busted board. Most people don't main deck Dark Ruler no more. This deck is ridiculous. This hand is ridiculous. Carrot, get rid of Bujinki. Red, get rid of Carrot. Whatever you want to do. This is ridiculous. Toad, negate. Sprind to return a card to the hand. Mannequin Cat is later on to get whatever you want out, which can be mostly probably a blue to add a Pixie to your hand. And they're Ibly locked. They're probably going to scoop after this. The hand was absolutely ridiculous. As you guys can see, Swap Frog is still really good in this deck. I can still end on Toad, Carrot, Red, Mannequin Cat, Sprind. The open cracked. Even last time when I didn't open anything nuts, I still had 4 interruptions with the Imperm, the Judgment, the Smashers, and the Double Cross on top of having the Mannequin Cat and Sprind, and a Toad, which was still amazing. It was Mannequin Cat, Bujinki, and Toad, I think, or just Bujinki and Toad. It was still enough to, based off of how you interrupt people, to make sure that they can't play the game. And I love making sure nobody can play the game. I just give them the chance to try to play with me, and if they can't play with me, then that's on them. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's the Spright combo tutorial. Please drop a like if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe because I'm going to keep putting out more videos as much as I can, because my goal is 500 subscribers, but the ultimate goal is try to get to that 1,000. I want to try to make this a full-time job instead of a part-time job. or make this a full-time job instead of a part-time hobby. Because I love the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I want to share it with everybody. So again, see y'all later. Peace.